2 weeks. That's how much time we've got before the November 8th general midterm election. And I want to hear from you at 217-629-7970. What are your predictions when it comes to who's going to maintain control of Congress, when it comes to who's going to take over the governor's office? What about Amendment 1 on the ballot to amend the Illinois Constitution? Let's hear from you, all right? Got 2 weeks. Have you already voted, or are you somebody that wants to vote in person, as is traditionally done? So let's hear about it. 217-629-7970. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com. All kinds of things for you to vote on the ballot. Everything from the Amendment 1 that would codify collective bargaining in the Illinois Constitution. Labor groups heralding that as a major victory that will help out labor unions by essentially not allowing the state to modify anything when it comes to what can be collectively bargained. You also have the opponents of that issue saying that it's going to increase property taxes and possibly could open up the door for public safety unions like police and fire to strike if they don't get what they want in a contract negotiation. So those are some obvious interesting points to be made about that particular amendment, and you've got 2 weeks to make up your mind on that. We heard calls yesterday on both sides of that here with WMAY. But overall, in particular, what do you think about Congress? Who's going to maintain or take control of Congress? Are the Democrats going to maintain their power? They have a very slim majority in the U.S. House, and the indications not looking good for the Democrats. Even Congressman Rodney Davis, I asked him yesterday about what his predictions are when it comes to exactly how the votes are going to turn out across the country and whether or not he was talking on behalf of Republican Regan Deering for the 13th Congressional District. I asked about that district and if it's considered to be among those across the country that could be giving Republicans an advantage.
Could be one of those five?
Damn right it is. Reagan's going to win.
Talk about, I guess, if you could, what that means for having possibly a divided Congress. The Senate's a coin flip. The House, what would that mean? I know you won't be there, but what would that mean for Republicans if they do control the House?
Be great for the country.
Can you elaborate?
No.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, I will say something on this. Look, take back the House. We're going to take back the House, and Regan's going to be a part of this new majority. You see the polling that's happening right now. The polling shows that clearly Republicans are in the driver's seat to grow that majority to, I believe it could be, and I hope it's historic levels. I think Kevin McCarthy will be a great Speaker of the House, and I cannot wait as I get back to Washington in November to help orient all these new freshmen that are coming in that will be part of this new majority that will hold the Democrats and the Biden administration accountable and will start to make sure that they address problems that people like Nikki Budzinski created in Washington. She was at OMB, the chief of staff, the one running the daily operations of how all tax dollars are spent in this country. Every dollar that we appropriate gets moved through and funneled through OMB before it goes out to state agencies like IDOT and others. She was personally responsible for implementing some of the worst fiscal policies that we've seen in generations. And now she wants to actually be able to go to Congress and vote to spend more of your hard-earned tax dollars and raise inflationary pressures more. That, coupled with the corruption and the ethical challenges she has, that's why Washington, D.C. and the House of Representatives should be the last place Nikki Budzinski should get her next job. Go back to consulting. It worked out pretty well for her. Thanks.
So again, that was more, aimed at the 13th district. But overall, I think that Congressman Davis, even though he didn't win the primary in his newly drawn district, and he won't be in Congress after a certain time in January, he predicts that Republicans are going to take over the House. And what do you think that ultimately will mean? And again, I want to hear from you, your predictions. Do you think that that's going to happen? Do you think Republicans are going to pick up, yes, some have estimated 50 seats in the U.S. House? What about the U.S. Senate? Is that going to flip to Republicans? Because right now it's evenly split 50-50. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and your predictions, 217-629-7970. You can also sound off on the race for governor. Do you think that the incumbent Democrat is going to maintain the office? Or do you think the Republican challenger is going to take over? Or if you want to chime in on what kind of percentage you think the Libertarian candidate is going to get. We talked with Scott Schluter not long ago, and he's the Libertarian candidate for governor, and he said that a victory would be to get more than 5% because that would make the Libertarian Party an established political party, thereby allowing them easier ballot access in the future. So your thoughts, 217-629-7970. It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk. We'll get to your calls coming up next. Again, 217-629-7970 on WMAY. Stay 217-629-7970 is the phone number. We'll get to this one. Good morning. You're on WMAY. What are your predictions for the election?
Well, my hope is that the Republicans take the House and the Senate. I wish we could take the presidency this time, but, in 2 years, hopefully we'll do that too. But the biggest issues, I think, in my opinion, real quick, are it's inflation, crime, and the border. It's not abortion, and it's not all this other crap that they want to try and tell you it is. It's inflation, crime, and the border. Those are the big three. Inflation,
crime, and the border. That are the things that you are seeing as top of mind for voters. I appreciate the call, and we'll get more of your calls coming up here in moments with Springfield's Morning News on WMAY. Now, 8-7. We've been taking your phone calls about your predictions for the 2022 November 8th general midterm election. And in particular, do you see that the polling more and more is indicating Republicans are going to take back the House? And still a coin flip with the U.S. Senate. But the indication is Republicans are going to have a big year across the country. There's a bunch of other really fascinating races. Of course, I mean, the Illinois gubernatorial race is one of them, but the race over in Arizona is pretty incredible between Carrie Lake, a former TV journalist who got fed up with how news was being reported and quit, and then decided to run for office. And now she's being labeled an election denier for simply saying that we need to have more secure elections, and a whole host of other things, being called a crazy Trumper because she supports the former president. It's amazing all of the monikers that can be thrown towards a candidate, while a lot of the corporate press seem to just look the other way at the Democratic opponent, who has a really sketchy past, including some allegations of racism, and also has refused to debate the Republican candidate on stage. Here we are now, 2 weeks away, and there hasn't been a debate in Arizona. So that's a fascinating race. Going to be watching that one closely. But I want to hear from you, your predictions. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning.
Hey.
Let's see. I think that, I think Sandy Hamilton's going to beat Doris Turner and take the Senate seat in Springfield and Taylorville and Decatur and all that.
Interesting. Okay.
I think DeVore has a good chance of getting the Attorney General. I'm not 100% on it, but I think he has a really good chance. I think the guy leading in the treasurer race, I like him. I can't think of his name right now. But
are you the Republican Tom Demmer? You think he's going to beat out Mike Frericks? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think he will. I think the Republicans will. I'm just going to skip the governor race because it's bought and paid for. But I do think the Libertarian, I think he's going to get what he needs to get us a permanent home on the ballot. So,
well, it wouldn't be permanent. It wouldn't be permanent. It would only last until the next election, and if they don't get that 5% threshold, they're kicked back out of established party status.
I think
think 10 to 11% would not surprise.
What do you think that would say, though? If it's that high, that 10 or 11% of voters are voting for a non-established third party, what do you think that says about the confidence that the electorate has in our leaders?
You just said it right there. There's a lack of confidence in the two parties that exist, and there's a group of people, and I do believe it's on both sides that's looking for an alternative. And I think the Libertarian, in my opinion, probably, I don't know, that they're kind of down the middle. You know, they do believe in some social platforms, but they do believe a lot in leave me alone. Yeah. At least that's kind of my understanding, you know.
Some of the libertarian stances have been elect me to leave you alone, or my platform is I want to leave you alone, or you'll see a T-shirt that says I support gay and lesbian couples guarding their marijuana fields with AK-47s. So that seems to be the libertarian platform to a degree.
And I love that platform. You know, that's where I think it needs to be. I know we're running short on time. Step up. Yeah, I think the Republicans are going to take the House. I think there's a really good chance they're going to take the Senate, but it's only going to be by a vote or two. My biggest concern about that happening is they're just going to dive into investigation, which I'm not going to say. There does need to be a couple investigations. I think the Hunter Biden thing's a big thing that needs to be looked at. A lot of other things, just let it go. They need to start passing good, sensible policies and send them to Biden and let Biden veto them. And that way, when it comes time for 2024, they can say, hey, look, we suggested improving, the border situation, and Biden vetoed it. So, they need to put forth some good, sensible policies and get his no in writing so we can just end this whole nonsense.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Hey, I appreciate the call on that, and some interesting predictions, things that we'll definitely be keeping an eye on, and we'll talk more about this in the next 2 weeks, as we've got just 2 weeks left before the general midterm election. And again, it's all up and down the ballot. There's really important things, and I would encourage you, if you haven't done your research yet, go get a sample ballot, and you can find that at the county website or contact your county clerk and know what's on your ballot, because it's not just who's running for governor, it's not just who's running for Congress. You've got even some local issues that might come up in your jurisdiction, some referenda that impact you locally. You even have some county races as well that are up for consideration. So a lot on the ballot, from the state house to Congress to a constitutional amendment. It's important that you, as an educated voter, get educated and know what those issues are. Greatly appreciate everybody chiming in on this with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk.